Welcome to the Pause with Pythian podcast. I'm your host, Pythian Priestess. Breathe in, tune in, and let's take a sacred pause together. The time is now. Let us begin.
Hello, mystics. I am so honored to welcome Lon Milo DuQuette, truly a living treasure in our world of magic and mysticism. Today, we are discussing his new book, The Tarot Architect. This is a powerful book that invites you to see tarot not just as a deck of cards, but as a living blueprint for the development of your soul. As a professional tarot reader myself, this book opened up my mind and immediately reshaped the way I approach the cards. Lon, thank you so much for coming to talk to me today.
It was easy. I just had to stay home.
So when I opened up your book, one of the first pieces of advice that you give to the reader is, please do not think you need to be Jewish or believe in a biblical God or indeed follow any religion's god or gods in order to make tarot and Kabbalah meaningful to you. Tell me a little bit about that. Why did you feel the need to include that?
Because so much of my discussion of what makes tarot sacred, I guess, is based on basic Kabbalistic principles. And those Kabbalistic principles are most easily expressed through several pieces of esoteric Jewish literature. And the Sefer Yetzirah in particular. A lot of people believe that Kabbalah is a proprietary property of a particular religious viewpoint, because so much of Kabbalah is used to dissect and analyze biblical passages, because that was how it was used, especially in the old days. But the Kabbalistic principles are universal and more mathematical than they are religious. And so you don't have to feel obliged, like when Kabbalists, Hermetic Kabbalists, use the sacred name of God, the four-letter name of God, Yod He Vav He. They do it in the context of a universal formula of existence, a formula of creation, and not a particular anthropomorphic deity with a beard and a bad attitude, So that's why I felt obliged to say that at the outset.
Yeah, I thought that was really helpful, especially to people in my audience who, when they look at Kabbalah, they look at the tree of life, they go, oh my God, that's just too complicated for me. And your book, in so many ways, really makes this very dense subject digestible. And for those people who are going to pick up your book and pick up your tarot deck and say, oh, that's just too much for me, how would you help them feel more qualified to handle these esoteric truths?
Wow. Do you have a signed deck?
I sure do. Yes, I went to your Enochian class back in March.
Oh, that's right. That's where I've seen you. Okay. I'm going to do it again in Joshua Tree, but I'm going to do the Tarot Architect.
And I think that would be a wonderful experience.
Well, in a way, that's the purpose of the book, okay? Because you can just sit down and read for 20 minutes at a time and get it, okay? And I wanted to put it in such a way as that you get it. And if you've already had exposure to tarot, any tarot deck, and as long as the deck has 22 major trump cards or greater arcana cards, and it has small cards, like king, queen, prince, princess, or, whatever that division is, and then an ace through 10 of 4 suits, any tarot deck is a perfect mathematical representation. As a matter of fact, the deck itself is a miniature working model of the cosmos.
Yes.
And one of the earliest of Kabbalistic axioms, I guess, is that humans, people, are made in the image of deity. So we're also a miniature working model of the cosmos. Okay. The whole thing with King Solomon wanting to build a perfectly proportioned building to be a model of the cosmos. Well, we're that building too.
Right. I want to get into a little bit of detail here. You call this book The Tarot Architect. What does it mean to build a spiritual temple for people who, in my audience, who have no idea what that means? Let's break it down for them.
Well, it's the basic premise that we are a perfect reflection of God if we only knew who we were.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the process of finding out who we are is to understand how deity itself, how the singularity itself could be expressed in a step-by-step construction process. That's what the Sefer Yetzirah is all about. That's what the Exercises in Tarot Architect is about. You already are this building. You already are the Temple of Solomon. You're just hanging out in the lowest corner of the laundry room in the basement, okay? And you have no idea. You have no idea that the whole thing is yours. And so it helps you to do that. Yeah. And so I sort of likened that to the fact that, well, if I was really firing on all cylinders, if I was really psychically lubricated as a well-oiled machine, I would be like a perfectly ordered tarot deck. Like when you buy it at the store and you open it up, and most of them are ordered in a pretty darn good Kabbalistic order. The reason I don't feel like that is because I'm like a shuffled deck. And a part of the reason that tarot works so well or can work so well as a divinatory device is because in a tarot reading, we're kind of obliged to see how we are misinterpreting our own perfection. After all these years of beating my head against the wall, the purpose of my book is to show you how the tarot represents this great architectural structure, because that great architectural structure is you. And so I start at the very beginning about how the tarot shows us how existence comes into existence. I hope the readers have some kind of tarot deck, you know. I've got the Halloween deck, okay, among my collection. And I've got like Alice in Wonderland deck, you know, and I've got these beautiful new decks with gorgeous artwork and everything else. It doesn't have to be my tarot deck. And most people at least have a weight deck, you know, as sort of the archetypal deck. But how they can use the deck that they already have to understand how everything comes out of what the Kabbalists would call the three great kinds of nothing, and how everything comes out of nothing. And we've got beautiful flashcards, images to help us understand those dynamics. We've got the Fool card, and in many sort of modern decks, it's treated as number 0. And so that is like everything's getting ready to step out of nothing at the beginning of a creation cycle. But that's not the only nothing. At the very end of the sequence of trumps is the universe card, which is Saturn. And Saturn becomes very important in the understanding of all of this. And that's a 0 too, because we've got the dancer, the world dancer, in that usually an oval shaped thing, and many decks kind of show it in the belt of the zodiac and everything else. But that's the second 0. And that is when a completely manifested universe, when everything that's going to happen has happened, when everything that's going to be created got created, when the whole show is over and the curtain comes down on an existence cycle, that's how everything goes back into negativity.
Right. I understand.
In the United States, like at high school football games, at the beginning of the game, the cheerleaders come out with a great big round paper hoop. And at the beginning of the game, the players burst through the hoop onto the, okay. Yeah. But when the game is over, they don't always do this, but imagine if when the game's over, the team runs back into that hoop. So those are the bookends of existence. And the cards that are in between that are the adventure of creation itself and your adventure too. So.
Yes, the adventure to growth and to wisdom. But before we dive into that, I wanted to address something that I thought was so pertinent in our world. You write that the tarot deck is the perfect working model of the cosmos. And as you're shuffling, you're getting a diluted perspective. You may mistake objective reality. But just because we aren't able to perceive how the cosmos is functioning in perfect order doesn't mean it isn't.
Right.
And it's so hard for us because we're in a chaotic world right now. So many things are changing. And here you are telling us that there is order here. That's very profound.
Well, it is, and it's very hard to swallow, when you're having so much trouble in life. The last thing you want to hear is some tarot reader telling you things are working perfectly. You really did need to hit your head getting in the car. And of course, in the great big picture, of course, that's what it is. And in a way that the tarot, when properly understood, when the tarot temple is actually built in you, you are that reflection. Becoming the reflection of the perfect way things are is the great work. And in different cultures, the techniques that people follow to sort of lubricate themselves to progressively wake up differ from culture to culture. But we're all hardwired the same way. We're all hardwired the same way. And properly understood, a tarot deck is that perfect roadmap. For years, I didn't use the tarot at all in a divinatory way. I was initially schooled from the BOTA lesson, Builders of the Adytum, wonderful thing. And that's where I got the idea, because the BOTA required you to do this. You take a blank tarot deck like that, one at a time, and you take a couple of days or a couple of weeks to color your own.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, you become aware of the color frequency, because every card has a frequency of light that translates as colors. It has a frequency of sound. Okay. And small cards, represent 10 degrees of the zodiac. So there's 36 small cards, the 2s through 10s of each suit. That's 36 decans of the zodiac. There's
I see.
theoretically the correlations and the correspondences are infinite, because everything in the cosmos is connected to everything in the cosmos. And everything in the cosmos is the reflection of everything in the cosmos.
Including ourselves.
Including ourselves. And that's the one we think about the most. And so I tried to design my book to give you page by page aha moments.
Yeah, I definitely had those when I was reading it, especially around the cube of space. I have struggled with understanding the cube of space for many moons, and the practical exercises of imagining the card and the energy flowing in front of me and behind me, it made a lot of sense. And it definitely gave me what you were aiming for.
Oh, good. Because it's meant to be, really a psychic tune-up.
No?
You know, yeah, I call it a lube job. It's because it lubricates your psychic facilities. And the book has a link to the webpage where all of your, if you want to really get serious about, all the things you
Absolutely.
can
Oh,
print out yeah.
very
And
cool.
there's your cube of space right there. Or you can just take the book down to a copy shop. But it is very important. I call them the 3 working tools. The Kabbalistic working tools. Doesn't have anything to do with religion, okay? Be whatever religion you want. But the 3 Kabbalistic working tools are, first of all, Yod, He, Vav, He. And I give little fairy tales of how existence comes into existence. Second working tool is the tree of life. You mentioned one of your listeners or something throws their hands up when they see a tree of life and go, oh my God. Well, just in chapter 2, if you can just, on your lunch break, just get out the book and read chapter 2 and only page 21 through 29. What is it? 7 pages. No, I guarantee you'll understand the tree of life and you'll get it. And that understanding will make certain things click in you so that you can actually readjust yourself to recognize that you are that tree of life yourself. And that if you could progressively, wake up to those things, you'd understand that. And the third working tool is that cube of space. And the meditations involved in that cube of space, I'm very proud of those meditations. It's things that I've done for years. And if I would kick off tomorrow, that would be something that I was most proud of. I do a Monday night magic class in our home here. Oh, my wife and I do it because, I can't do it without a heckler. But one of our Monday night class members, he made a meditation aid to go with that great cube of space meditation that you can sit and just sort of half open your eyes and see what you should be visualizing. And not only that, but the music note, the proper music note that goes with it is part of that thing too. Because I have you chant.
Mhm.
I have notes. And you know how when you chant a vowel sound, you do it real hard. And after you've chanted, emptied your lungs chanting a vowel sound, you know how high you get, that you get that certain that high is the vibration of that Hebrew letter, of that element, planetary sphere, zodiac sign. You're literally blowing out your own aura, enriching your own aura, planting your own aura with that. And the chanting helps you actually physiologically feel what's going on. You don't have to visualize anything, You go, whoa, that made me a specific kind of high. Well, that specific kind of high is exactly what you should be attuning with when working with these things. And I try to make it fun, and I try to make it painless and not oblige you to read 50 pages to get instant gratification.
Yes, we all appreciate that. Oh, this is my co-host
Well,
Euphrates.
Well, they, it looked like a tiger,
He does.
tiger in Euphrates.
Yes, you got it.
And it took me many years. The BOTA lessons really started me off with, oh, I see how this, the tarot, any tarot deck could be used to program yourself with this step-by-step process. I've got two illustrations that, people say, well, is this really? Okay. Now, I don't want to scare anybody away, okay? I don't, with this thing. But see the roof of the thing there, the roof of the building, there's your 22 trumps.
Yep. And the fool at the top.
There's a fool at the top, and balancing the whole thing is teetering. Balancing the whole thing is the justice card, the Libra card, the one right in the middle.
Yep.
Okay. But there's method to this madness. And the cards in the very center are the aces and the court cards.
I see.
And then the 36 small cards along the side. Now, this is at the back of the book, because by the time you get to the back of the book, you'll get it. Okay, you'll understand it. And then you could just look at that thing and see it. Do you see that black one at the top?
I sure do.
That's that mysterious Saturn, or the world card. And that'll become very important in your study, because that Saturn is a planetary sphere, but it's a special, it's a really special one. Saturn wasn't even an Olympian god. Saturn was a Titan that came before creation. So that would be that Saturn, okay, that little bead there. Oh, this is going to be really primitive. But springing from that bead is the first mother letter, and the first mother letter card, Aleph, the Fool.
Right.
Okay. And
okay. All right.
Okay. And it goes up and down. It stretches itself up and down. Okay. Okay. That's how creation starts. It stretches itself.
Yeah.
I need elbow room to create a universe. And so this way of looking at it, that's the first thing I do. I'll just stretch myself. And there isn't even an up or a down yet. You just stretch yourself, and in doing so, you create an up and down.
Yeah, so I remember this from the Cube of Space stuff too. Yeah.
Right. And that's the Fool.
Yeah.
That's the Fool zero, okay? Okay. Then you stretch yourself forward and backwards. Okay, because that worked out so well. So there's a blue one there. So you stretch yourself forward and backwards. Okay. In the Masons, we have a lecture in the Masons that talk about how existence comes into existence. And it says from a point to a line, from a line to a superficie or a plane. So see, that just creates a plane.
Yes.
It's a really flat universe. And that's the second mother letter. Okay. And that's the Hanged Man. That's water.
Yes, Mem.
Fool is air, Mem is water, and the Hanged Man. Then it goes from, this is going to fall apart on me here. It goes from right to left. And that's the third mother letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Sheen. So, and that is the Last Judgment card. Okay. So those are the mother letters of the Hebrew alphabet. There's 3 of them. And those 3 of them created space, because they created an up and a down, and a forward and a backwards, and a right and a left. And right and left are opposite each other. So the rightness over here is a double Hebrew letter and a planetary sphere, and the left is another double letter. See, double, because it's created from a dual thing.
Ah.
and they create those walls, create the 6 walls of the planetary spheres with Tov, Saturn, still rattling around there.
There you go.
And the 12 edges of the cube are the 12 simple letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the 12 signs of the zodiac. So we've got the mother letters, primitive elements, fire, water, air, because Earth is really special. Earth is right up there with Saturn as being its special thing. And I try to talk about that. And then it creates the planetary spheres and the signs of the zodiac. And all 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet create the cube of space. And relative motion within space creates time. That's how existence comes into existence. And your 22 trumps of the tarot just did it for you.
Wow. So I know I had this question and I was looking through the book and I didn't find it. Why do you include the Klipothic spirit here? What does that vibration have to do with the tarot?
Well, everything in the universe is connected to everything else in the universe, from the highest heavens to the lowest hell. And the Kliphotic spirits are a part of that grand spectrum of consciousness. They're not evil in and of themselves. Okay, they're in a sense, they're shells, they're shards of specific intelligences. Let me see if I can find one here for you. And when I was designing the deck, the Tarot Ceremonial Magic deck, I'm really a lazy guy. I'm really lazy. And when I was designing the deck, I thought, well, I'm just going to show the full magical spectrum of what the Hanged Man card represents and the Hebrew letter Mem represents. And Aleister Crowley wrote or designed a book that he doesn't tell you anything about. Okay, very little. It's, he must have doodled it while he's talking on the telephone, because that's what it looks like to me. Well, that's not how sigils are made, but anyway. So do you see sort of the Hanged Man in that image right there?
I do, yes.
Okay, you see the tree, and you see the delta there, because the classic version of the tree of life is a Daleth, Hebrew letter, and then you got him hanging there.
Yep.
Okay, now that's the mercurial genie. Okay.
Okay.
The Book of Thoth, of course, is a mercurial device, or the tarot itself. Okay, so there it is when it is operating, I guess you would say, essentially perfect.
Okay.
Okay, and this guy is the shell. Okay, the shell of that guy.
Okay.
Okay, but it's the shells that do the heavy lifting in the universe.
And that goes back to the King of Solomon building the temple kind of energy, right?
Right. You got it. They get a bad rap. Oh, they're evil. Oh, they got that. Look how ugly it is and everything else. And as long as they're not directed or controlled by intelligence, Mercury, the mercurial genie, okay, they just run amok. They just discharge their partial shell-like, there's nothing that's really animating them except the remnants of perfection that they once housed, like a pot that got struck by lightning. The shards still have a little electric charge in them, but that pottery still creates things on the material plane. It builds up. It does everything that we see as manifesting as creation, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, creator, sustainer, destroyer. The people that do all the heavy lifting in those 3 acts are the Kliphotic things. And it's only they're already at work within us, I guess I could
I
say.
agree.
Yeah. And in a sense, in a real sense, when we get up and look at ourselves in the mirror in the morning, we're looking at our qliphothic shell.
Mm.
I mean, I got a great nose, okay? I'm really I'm proud of my nose, okay? But I'm not my nose, okay? And God forbid you lose a limb. Yeah, if you didn't have a leg, you'd still be you. I mean, you in imagination, you can chop everything off one one by one. And if somebody would ask you, would you still be you? You go, sure.
The essence is still
Okay.
there.
Yes. So all of that, in a sense, is qliphothic stuff. But having legs, having limbs and fingers and stuff allows you to express, to give form to your creativity, to your existence. So that's why. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that. We're seeing like a second rise of satanic panic. So I just wanted to clarify for everybody why there was a qliphothic spirit on here. I mean, I got so much from just doing the exercises in the book. I had a question. Why do you have the reader kiss the cards before doing the meditations or exercises?
Well, I think that fundamentally everyone should love themselves.
Mhm.
And I want everyone to eventually see the deck of tarot cards as part of themselves and as part of an expression of their love. And we could get technical and say it's a magical link that you make with the cards. Not, it shows your respect, it shows your love. And every time you do it, you pass on a little of your own DNA. It shows on a very even subconscious level your identity with the cards, your love for the cards, but most of all, your love for yourself and your love for the great work. And when do you ever find yourself in circumstances where you're allowed to remind yourself that's what this is all about?
Beautiful.
So, and it does something magical. Okay, it does something magical, and everybody describes it in a little different way. But every time they do it, and for every day, every week, and as they go through the exercises and everything else, they start to look at that deck as vibrating with their own essence, with their own love. And I think it's an important part of the exercises.
Well, I will definitely do it now because I wear lipstick and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to transfer the lipstick onto the cards. But now I
Do
understand.
it. Yeah, do it.
Wow. For all my listeners out here, like that is some real special knowledge that Lon just dropped here. And you have got to pick up the Tarot Architect if you want to fully understand and dive deeper into this, because this is ancient knowledge that he is making so simple for us. All of us, like he said, have a tarot deck at home. And this is more than just fortune telling. It's an explanation of our universe. And I think we're all searching for answers right now.
Oh God, yeah. So, oh, there's a copy. I'm really proud of the cover they did for it.
It's beautiful.
So,
Where can people buy the book? Where would you prefer them to purchase, Lon?
any place they can. Okay. I don't make the authors don't make that much more money if you buy it directly from the publisher, which is Wiser, a great publisher, or Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But if I would just want to be truly saintly about it, I would encourage people to go to their local bookstore that they like hanging out at. And if they don't have it in stock, have them order it. They'll get it in just a week or so, or sometimes even less. And I would rather have people support a local bookstore than,
Big box companies. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, the difference between what I get out of it is just pennies.
Right.
So don't think I'd rather have you have the book than not have the book,
Yeah.
so.
Admittedly, I have it on Kindle because I was reading it on an airplane. So doing the meditations for the cube of space while in like air was pretty crazy.
Neat. How neat.
Yeah. I'll be sure to pop all that information down below for our listeners. And before we depart today, is there any one thing that you want our listeners to walk away with remembering about tarot?
Tarot work, no matter how you want to work with it, as a fortune teller or a divination or a meditative tool, the tarot works because it is perfect, or as nearly approaching perfection as anything can come. And once the light bulb goes off over your head about how actually perfect it really is, you'll also realize how perfect you really are.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lon, so much for sharing with us the structure of the tarot, the blueprint of our spiritual temples. And to everyone listening, go out and find the Tarot Architect wherever books are sold. And until next time, mystics, stay magical.